The world is full of urban legends, remarkable stories that spread like viruses around the planet, mutating and evolving until no one can remember which are true and which are urban legends. In this episode called Family Affairs, you'll see 3 incredible stories that prove that the people you love the most can also hurt you the most. First up, Detective Gary Zwicker finds a mummified corpse and uses its finger to point him to the killer. Then Craig Portner tries to avoid marrying his wife, but his plan winds up on the rocks. And finally, Madge Dixon catches her daughter in the act, but then gets an even bigger surprise. Watch all 3 stories and decide which ones are true and which ones are false. Find out if you guessed right at the end of the show. Our first story is called Fingering the Perp. Hamilton, Ontario is famous as the steel capital of Canada, but it's also the scene of a puzzling crime that had the police, public, and press stumped. Meet journalist John Wells.
I write for the Hamilton Spectator. I sort of carve a niche out, writing longer series. A few of these have been true crime stories.
John broke one crime story that was solved in a very unconventional way. In early spring 2001, a lone jogger comes across a gruesome sight.
The body was first discovered by an off-duty firefighter who was jogging along a country road. The firefighter called the police, and that's when the case really began.
Detective Gary Zwicker goes to the scene.
Received a call that a body had been located in a ditch in Flamborough. When we got there, the area had been cordoned off. The deceased was lying approximately 15 feet from the roadway in a ditch. In the advanced state of decomposition, actually skeletonized.
The detective searches for clues to the skeleton's identity.
Zwicker noticed that the victim appeared to be wearing a night dress, lingerie of some kind. Certainly, the remains were caked with dirt and mud, so it was difficult to tell, but it looked like she was wearing some sort of satin nightie.
But there's little evidence to go on.
At the autopsy, while it was clear that much of the victim had reached a near mummified state, one of the hands, the skin on the fingers, appeared at least to Detective Zwicker to be sufficiently intact that perhaps a fingerprint could be taken.
I try to get prints, but
during the autopsy, I could see that there was skin left on the first 4 fingers of the right hand.
yeah. Let's try a little experiment.
Detective Zwicker has an idea.
I was aware that mummified fingers could be rehydrated to an extent that fingerprint impressions could be obtained from them. The fingers were amputated and immersed in a rehydration solution. In an attempt to accelerate the process, inserted a syringe into the finger and injected it.
After 7 long weeks, the process is complete.
What do you think? Are they ready?
Believing that the finger is fully hydrated, Zwicker does something unusual. Removing the skin from the mummified finger,
You want to do the honors?
he lays it over his assistant's digit. Then he takes a fingerprint in a normal way, ensuring he gets the best possible print.
Once a solid print is rolled on the paper, it is compared against other prints in the police database.
Start with a criminal.
It was a long shot to get the print, and now it's a long shot that the print will match another one on the database. The big wild card is whether or not this print would be on the system. If the victim had no prior record, she wouldn't be on the system.
Can only hope.
Amazingly, the fingerprint matches one belonging to a woman called Yvette Budrum.
So the real kicker of the story is that, in fact, Yvette Budrum has a fingerprint on the system. And the reason she has a fingerprint on the system is that she was charged and convicted for threatening death and assault against her husband.
The police arrest Yvette's husband, Mohan. He is their prime suspect because he never reported Yvette as missing, even though she vanished 6 months ago. Police search the family home and find traces of Yvette's blood on the TV and mattress. It's enough to charge Mohan with the murder of his wife.
And it was only because of the husband phoning in this call and charging her for threatening death against him. If not for that, her body remains unidentified, and very likely he gets away with murder.
So is the story the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Find out at the end of the show. But first, check out this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 2. All thumbs. New Yorker Jason Samuels is a lover of technology. He's been a computer fiend since he could work a keyboard. He's always first in the office to have the latest gadget, and was among the first in line for the latest multimedia touchscreen phone. There's only one thing that gets in the way of Jason's pursuit of the latest gizmos: his thumbs. Jason's a big guy, and his meaty digits make it hard to work little buttons. So he takes a drastic step. He has hand surgery, slimming down the distal phalanxes on his thumbs to a more convenient size. So is this story on the button? Or is it a ham-fisted attempt at a hoax? Is it true or is it false? It's false. This tale first appeared in the North Denver News as a satirical story in August 2007. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 incredible stories. Your task is to pick out the terrible truths from the horrible hoaxes. So far, you've seen the tale of Detective Gary Zwicker, the guy who rehydrated a corpse's mummified fingers so perfectly that the resulting print landed the murderer in jail. But is it a true story? Find out at the end of the show. In the meantime, take a look at our second story. It's called Gone Fishing. The birthplace of Presidents John Adams and John Quincy Adams, the coastal town of Quincy, Massachusetts, is known as the City of Legends. Now it's home to another legend, and it's all thanks to this woman. Meet Joanna Maldini.
Hello. My wedding was such an experience, such a positive, fantastic experience, that I actually decided to go into wedding planning after I got married. I'm a wedding planner right now.
And meet her husband, Craig Portner.
So Joanna and I have been married for 10 years now. Things have been really good. But our wedding almost didn't happen.
What are you talking about?
On March 3rd, 1999, Joanna is busy organizing the details of her wedding day.
You can fly them in? Okay, great. Oh, okay, I'll give you a call.
I love weddings. I love planning. You know, I like the whole preparation. I love every single detail of a wedding.
Joanna was completely obsessed about every aspect of the wedding. The flowers, the linens, everything. And I'd gotten cold feet about the whole thing. But I felt really pressured to go through with it.
The count is to 300.
Whoa. So while she was busy planning the big day, I spent a lot of time alone fishing. And then I got an idea.
One morning he went on a fishing trip for the day, and well, that was the same day that my mom was coming in to help plan the dinner for the reception. And we were doing that well into the afternoon, and came early evening and Craig didn't come home.
Usually, Craig is back from his fishing trips before night falls.
So I started to get very concerned, and as the evening went later, I was beside myself. My mother, thank God, decided to stay with me until Craig came home.
Joanna begins to fear the worst.
The next morning, there's a knock at the door.
But it's not Craig returning home. It's the police.
Hi, Joanna.
Craig's boat had been found,
We found Craig's
and it had been tipped over in the water. His belongings had been found.
I'm really sorry.
The officer tells Joanna that it's unlikely he could have survived long in the icy waters.
And all I remember is crying the rest of the day, just crying and crying. I couldn't move.
But all is not as it seems. The day before, Craig had piled his tackle and belongings into the boat
and set it adrift. I figured then when they found the boat that they'd assume that I had fallen over the side.
By faking his death, Craig hopes to escape the unwanted wedding.
Actually, it didn't work out quite as I planned. As I was leaving the beach, I was just, alone with my thoughts. And I guess I wasn't paying attention, and I came across a road and got hit by a bus. And that's kind of the last thing I remember for a while.
Later on in the day, my phone rings.
Hello?
I pick up the phone, and it's a doctor. And
Yes.
he says that Craig is there with him and that there's been a terrible accident. All I could think of is, Craig's alive?
The doctor tells Joanna that Craig had been hit by a bus. Confused, but hugely relieved, Joanna heads to the hospital.
Okay? Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
I hung up the phone and rushed over there as quickly as possible.
My accident actually made Joanna want to get married even more, and my plan totally backfired.
So what I did was I moved the wedding up.
So I get wheeled into the church and up to the front to take my vows. I was completely incapacitated. I couldn't do or say anything. I mean, they were feeding me through a straw. So when it came to the vows, all I could do was cry. And poor Joanna mistook it as tears of happiness, but they weren't.
He started to cry, and I knew that what he was feeling was that he was just happy I was there and happy that the wedding could still go on.
You, Craig?
It was a very poignant moment. I mean, it was horrible that he was in the cast and that there had been this accident, but really that moment in time brought us very close together because I was taking care of him.
With our wedding out of the way, Joanna was just obsessing about other people's weddings, so things got a lot better. And things have been really good since then.
And we've been happily married now for 10 years. It's been incredible.
But even now, when we fight or we argue or have a disagreement, I still find myself pulling out the boat and going out fishing for the day.
So is this marriage mishap the truth? Or is this story just a little bit fishy? Find out at the end of the show. But first, check out this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 742, in the doghouse. In Poland, Helena Bukoravica has finally had it with her 75-year-old husband. He's spending all their hard-earned money on vodka, and Helena's fed up with his hard-drinking ways. So she chains him up in the dog kennel in her backyard and feeds him only dog food and water. She gives him nothing but a blanket to keep out the sub-zero temperatures. He's finally rescued after 3 weeks when drinking buddies come searching for him after missing his company at the bar. So was this sauce spouse really put on a tight leash? Or is it just a doghouse deception? Is it true, or is it false? It's true. It happened in Trnava in 2006, and he was only released when his buddies called the cops. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 astounding stories. Your task is to figure out which are true and which ones are false. So far, you've seen the tale of Detective Gary Zwicker, the cop who used a corpse's mummified finger to ID a Jane Doe and solve a homicide. And the story of Craig Portner, the guy who tried to fake his own death to escape his wedding, only to be dragged to the altar in a full body cast. But does either of these stories ring true? We'll let you know at the end of the show. Our third and final story is called Birthday Surprise. Things are not always as they seem in Chicago, Illinois, as this woman found out the hard way. Meet Madge Dixon.
Well, Dan and I were childhood sweethearts, you know. We met in high school and fell in love.
But when their daughter Bethany has her high school sweetheart over, Madge and Dan get a very big shock. On October 17th, 1978, Madge and Dan are returning early from the movies because Madge is feeling unwell.
It was our date afternoon on Saturday, but my stomach was really upset. I'd been kind of nauseated in the morning, but I thought it was just a bug that was going around.
Meanwhile, their daughter Bethany's having her very own matinee with her boyfriend Chip. Thinking her parents won't be back for a while, things are getting hot and heavy.
So we got home a little earlier than expected.
Oh my God. Oh! Bethany!
What the hell's going on here?
Nothing.
Bethany's there with Chip in the living room, and we obviously interrupted something because she was all kind of
I tell you
flushed.
about having Chip over when we were not home.
And Chip looked pretty embarrassed.
Bethany, how could you be so irresponsible? Oh, we didn't know you were gonna be back so soon.
Dan's a straight guy, but he got really upset.
Put your damn shirt on.
We weren't having sex.
And when I tell you not to have boys over, I mean it.
Dad, I am a grown woman, and you can't tell me what to do.
I think he was so upset he was going to call Chip's parents, and tell them what was going on.
I absolutely forbid you from seeing Chip any longer.
What?
That's it. I have to put my foot down. That's it. I'm sorry.
I hate you!
This is unbelievable.
She ran upstairs because Dan said, she couldn't see Chip anymore.
Yes, you go. You stand up.
Bethany!
So I went upstairs.
Concerned, Madge tries to reason with Bethany.
Bethany. Honey. What were you thinking? What are you doing?
I saw what that was.
She knew she was in trouble. And I was upset too because I trust my daughter. I really do. We have a good relationship.
If you're gonna start being sexual,
Madge tries to talk to Bethany about
you
contraception.
need to start using protection.
Okay, Mom, listen, I'm not an idiot, okay? I know about birth control. I know what that is.
But Bethany already knows how to take
We need to
precautions.
do a lot more than talk about it for you to not get pregnant.
Okay, Mom,
What if
I'm
you
not gonna
still
get
have-
pregnant, okay? I'm not gonna get pregnant.
She said, Mom, don't worry, I've looked after that. I said, what do you mean you've looked after that? She was young. I don't think she could have gone to the doctor and gotten on the pill herself.
Then Bethany makes a shocking revelation.
I've taken birth control before.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have, and I'm taking it. I've been taking your birth control.
What?
Yeah.
What? What do you mean you've been taking my birth control? No, I've been taking my birth control.
Yeah, I've been replacing the pills with baby aspirin.
You know what she said to me? She said she'd gone to the bathroom, and I have the little container of birth control pills there. She said she'd been taking my pills and putting the baby aspirin back in the little container, so I didn't know they were missing. So I had no idea my daughter had been taking my birth control pills.
What?
Well, so then you need it anyway.
Yes, actually, thank you very much. I do need it.
My daughter was looking after herself, and she thought, I guess, I didn't need the pills because I was too old, and I guess she thought I couldn't get pregnant.
But the fire of passion still burns brightly for Madge and Dan. So Madge gets a pregnancy test at her
I got the
doctor's.
test results from your physical last week, and I wanted to offer my congratulations. You're pregnant.
I am. Oh, God.
It's the last thing I was expecting, but I look back at it now, and Dan Jr.'s been such a huge addition to our family. I can't imagine our family being without him.
So is this medication mix-up true, or is this pill too hard to swallow? You don't have to wait too much longer to find out. All will be revealed after this final mini-myth. Mini-myth number 239. Early checkout. Irish blokes Kieran and Ryan head to South America for a pre-college vacation in 1992. They arrive in Lima, Peru, check into their hotel, and then head out into the town, boozing it up at the local bars. Stumbling back to their lodgings, Ryan is sick on the street. They arrive back and pass out in their separate rooms. The next day, Kieran finds Ryan's room not only empty, but completely changed. Everyone in the hotel insists Kieran arrived alone. Distraught, Kieran goes to the Irish consulate. After a week of investigation, they find that Ryan died of cholera in the night, and the hotel covered it up to avoid losing business. Does his story check out, or is it just a holiday hoax? Is it true or false? It's false. Accounts of disappearing hotel guests date back to the 1800s. Now it's time to reveal the truth about our three stories. First up, it's a story of Craig Portner, the guy who tried to avoid getting married by faking his own death, only to end up in a full body cast. But is it true or false?
This story is not true. Completely false.
Though this is an urban legend, a North Carolina man did actually stage a fishing accident to get out of his wedding. However, he gave himself up after 5 days when he realized the cops were conducting a massive search for his body. So what about the story of Detective Gary Zwicker, the cop who rehydrated a Jane Doe's mummified finger and from the resulting fingerprint managed to solve a brutal murder? Is this story for real?
I'm John Wells. I'm a reporter at the Hamilton Spectator, and this story is true.
And 4.5 years after Yvette Budrum was murdered, her husband Mohan was sentenced to life in prison with no parole for 14 years. Which leaves the story of Madge Dixon, the woman who found herself unexpectedly pregnant because her daughter had been taking her birth control pills and replacing them with baby aspirin. But is it true or false?
My name isn't Madge, and this is a false story.
This maternity myth is as old as the birth control pill itself. It even formed the plot of the 1968 movie Prudence and the Pill. That's the end of our episode called Family Affairs. Could you relate to the fabulous facts, or were you wedded to the fantastic fakery? However you did, you'll get another chance to separate fact from fiction in the next installment of Urban Legends.